Kinda. Hey, Eric, God bless you.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Hi, Jamie.
Everyone else know we don't have conferences with me that next 2 months. Excellent, even better to see how you are. Clever and thoughtful. Well, the good news is, it's just you and Eric. Zoom is set up. I do have a 9:30. I'm with Olivia's coach,
Nice big clock.
so I'll be out of here about 10.
Okay.
Do you know what you're gonna talk about?
Well, I basically have an outline from what we.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. No, I'm moving on a mission. I'm not going any faster.
I'll be back in about a half hour. It's just Olivia's on vacation, so we're taking her.
That's right.
Where is she, in Mexico?
Hi, Eric.
Morning, Kelly.
How
Good.
are ya? Good. Thanks for being here.
Yeah. Sorry to hear about your social media debacle.
Oh my God, it's been a nightmare.
I bet.
And I'm finding that like when I go on Facebook now, I don't know what the difference is, but it's like, this is dumb. You know, I just like don't even wanna be here. I don't know, it's super stupid, I don't know.
I don't even want to be.
Which, I mean, you know, that's not a bad thing. I mean, if I don't spend 17 hours on Facebook a day, I mean, that's probably not a bad thing.
We're about to find out if it's really that important for your business.
Right.
You know what I mean? We
Right.
like all fool ourselves and thinking, no, we gotta be on Facebook for our business. Really, like how much business have I got from Facebook?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know.
Did you ask Jason in the camp if he heard anything?
Olivia texted him yesterday afternoon
Okay.
to see if, he'd heard anything, and I haven't heard anything.
She's at the airport right now, I'm sure.
Yes, indeed. Good for her.
How long are they going for?
Till Monday, I assume?
Till Monday?
Did you? Oh, just Monday? Today's Wednesday.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
so Monday. Okay, nice.
I told her, I'm like, you didn't see the news lately, right? She hadn't, I'm sure she has now.
Oh,
About the foreign
All the
Americans.
cartel.
Yeah. But then she sent me the two that are dead. They have a massive rap sheet. And no one deserves to die in Mexico.
Right, of course. But it wasn't,
Is that a new clock?
yeah.
It is, and I have to prove it to Olivia.
I gotta run super quick and get in here. I'll be back.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be in Mexico, I think. But Kelsey and I are going to Spain.
You and who?
Kelsey.
When did that happen?
Today.
Yeah.
I got my passport this morning.
So you're going to Spain? Like what's in Spain? What about Spain?
Well, so Zach's sister Sophia, we like didn't know we were going till like a week ago. She made the USA rugby team for like the women, and we thought it was gonna be a US assignment, but it wasn't, and so Zach can't go, and I was like, hey Kelsey, do you wanna go to Spain? So she's like, sure.
Good morning.
Hello, Melissa.
I'm like, my passport expired, and then it was like, we ended up getting an appointment, and it took 15 minutes to do it. It
Yeah.
was like, everything was just like, well, I think I'm supposed to.
That
go
is
to
a
Spain.
sign.
Yeah.
When are you
going?
To
Spain, when are you going?
Oh, when are we going? The 22nd.
22nd.
Like that's
You two are
fast.
going together?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, fun.
Yeah.
That's
Did
so
you score
bonding. Like
great
I was like,
flights
I've
or
just
something?
bonded with her at family reunion. You get her in Spain. It's gonna be best.
I know, it'd be so fun.
No, so her future sister-in-law is like the US rugby team.
Cool.
She's playing in Madrid, so it's like, Zach couldn't go, so she's like, do you wanna come with? And I was like, sure. So I booked my flight last night, and I'm getting passport this morning.
Okay, this is meant to be because
You can book a
Eve,
flight
Tasha,
What was that?
You could book the flight before you had your passport.
You have to.
You have to,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's how you get it expedited or
Yeah.
whatever.
So, and
You
it-
have to travel.
You have to be within the 14 days of your travel date. You have to have proof and everything. Well, like, we both called, and we had I had an appointment in Colorado, if worst case scenario, to go get my
You'd have
passport.
to fly out.
Mhm. So,
Yeah.
but then she had called and they were like, oh, yep, Wednesday morning, which is literally 20 or 12 or 14 days, like right in with it. And like, the girl in front of me, she's like, yeah, I'm going to Barcelona and I'm going tonight. So like, this is the only, and they were like, how in the world did you get? Sorry, it's amazing.
It doesn't take no for an answer. Literally.
The guy even was like, how did, like, he was questioning how I got
You got one so far in advance of
Yeah.
your trip.
Yeah.
And you're like, it is cutting it too close for me, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but.
No.
Yeah, so we'll be there for 11 days.
Oh,
That'll be so fun.
that would be a total dream. Okay, and ironically, Tasha, Lisa, Ann, and I met Keller Williams realtor from Spain. I'll give you his business card. Yeah.
Totally.
Yes.
Fun.
He's single.
Is it cute?
Adorable.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. There you
We
go.
might have to have a business meeting.
This is
Yes,
this
it's
is
a
a
business
Hallmark
trip.
movie right here. She goes to Spain, comes back with a husband.
It is a Hallmark movie.
He opens up an office in Apple Valley. Rosemont.
All right. This is the first one of these that we're doing, so I don't know, I know that we obviously have Zoom going on, but I don't know if Eric, can you see what do you see on your screen right now?
I see the room and I can kind of make out what you've got on the screen.
Where do I get the Zoom thing so that I can share the screen?
That little arrow that's down on the right side of the screen. That's it? Nope.
Usually, like
If you maybe minimize that, your big screen, your web browser.
Hey, Kristen.
Hello.
Yeah.
Please do.
There we
I
go.
thought of you this morning, as a matter of fact.
You did.
As I looked at my clock, I was like, Krista's already been up for 2 hours.
Yes.
And then I said, the early bird gets the worm.
Looks good now, Kelly.
Okay, so now you see the Stephen Covey's 4 quadrant thing?
Yep.
Okay. Clearly, I do not have my husband's skills or experience doing this. All right, well, this is just gonna be a super casual, this is the first one of these we've done. I think there was kind of a call for this. You know how we do the top 20% mastermind, and there had been some conversation about, well, what about bringing other agents in who aren't in the top 20%? And of course, the agents who are here are, so. But anyway, just to kind of have almost the, just see what people want to talk about. And Eric, obviously, feel free to jump in at any time. This is, we don't have a huge crowd here. We got Melissa, Krista, Scotty, Kelsey, and Toddy, and me, and then you, of course. So feel free to jump in whenever you want, if you have a question or have something to add. I know sometimes if you're on Zoom, it feels a little bit more difficult to participate, but please do.
Sounds good.
So really just kind of a same type of thing, like a mastermind. What's working, what isn't, what are you seeing in the market, things like that. Does anybody want to throw anything out just to start with? Like, what are you seeing right now in the market, or what problems are you having, what issues are you having? Melissa?
I'll throw something out there. In the 2 years prior that I had done this, I came across it maybe once or twice. And so far in 2023, I've had no less than 4, maybe even more, buyers or sellers wanting to cancel their contract, and realtors fighting against that, not wanting to agree to it. And it's
You know, listing contract,
both buyers and listings.
purchase agreements and.
A combination, like the largest example, and I don't want to bring negative energy, but I think
No,
you're
it's
probably
important, yeah.
experiencing it too, and so I want you to, have a platform to be
Yeah.
able to talk about it amongst one another. For example, buyers who've decided to build a new construction house and just cut out the realtor, just pretend like, oh, I don't want a realtor anymore. Literally, there's been 3 of those.
Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
So we're not doing a very good job then of educating.
Right.
Whether it's through social media or buyer consultations of why you need to be represented with a builder. And the understanding that the builder represents this, or the listing agent or whatever represents the builder, not necessarily you. I'm sure they're willing to, but
Well, and I think just a consultation that if you're in a buyer broker contract, if they're gonna go to an open house or they're gonna go to a builder or that kind of thing, that they need to contact you. I think that's part of my big thing with a buyer, you know, if you're going to have somebody work for you and out there trying to find you something every day, then you gotta be loyal to the agent too. And I always tell people when I do my buyer counseling, it doesn't matter if it's me or if it's another agent, whoever you choose, you need to be loyal to them. And I have that conversation with every buyer before I'll ever even start working.
Yeah, you know, I mean, these builders range from
And lots.
very experienced to, it seems like this is their first model they've ever had. And so unfortunately, it's really short-sighted on the, you know, view of that builder to agree to cut out a realtor when they know the realtor's involved. And I do think education and social media and all that is helpful, but I almost feel like there's a larger undercurrent conversation of the consumer gets smarter every single day, and the consumer feels like they can do anything and everything.
And they
on their
wanna
own.
work with listing agents thinking they're gonna save money.
well, that's my message.
Right.
And it's a little bit entitlement, and yeah, I
Are
mean,
any of those builders, because this is what we, you know, years ago, we were up against builders saying, hey, if we represent you, we can get you a $15,000 basement, because that's money we wouldn't have to pay another agent. So are you seeing any of that in any of your
Some of that's
stories?
happening.
Yeah, that's too
yeah,
bad.
some of that's happening.
What can we do about that?
But flipping the, you know, kind of flipping the mindset now, the other would be a listing contract that's overpriced. And they don't want to hear the feedback, they don't want to hear the feedback from our Keller Williams listing agent that your house is overpriced and now it's time to reduce the price. And so they just want to cancel the contract. And it doesn't really work that way. You can't just cancel with me and go relist with someone else for a lower price to then get it sold. So I bring it up in more of like an empathetic regard, in that I can see from the outside looking in that there's stress and frustration, and consumers are maybe a little nervous, and agents are maybe a little desperate to hang on to their deals, and just wanting to help you guys more positive.
Right,
rather
right.
than a bunch of animosity.
Well, and I think, and I'm sorry, I was on my phone for a second, I have a closing going on right now, like my first e-closing, and people are e-signing and everything, and my buyers had a question, so I had to answer that. So if I missed something you guys said and I'm repeating this, forgive me. And now of course, after I've said all that.
Hey, you're not doubled yet.
Oh my God, this happens all the time. But basically, I know what I was gonna say. I also go over, you know, that section in the buyer contract, about, you know, where it's in capital letters and bold print or whatever, you know, the way you view you know, the way a buyer views a home can can impact the compensation or however it's phrased. I always go over that with them. And it's certainly not gonna help if a builder is promising them a free basement finish. You know, I mean, you know, if they have a way to get that, it's gonna be pretty tough to turn that down. But I'll always explain to them that, you know, if you see a house that you love and, you know, you call the number on the sign in the, you know, in the front yard, you're calling the person who's representing the listing agent and their best interests. And, you know, so, and I kind of explain that, you know, a good agent will say, are you working with a realtor? And if so, you should call that realtor. But there might be agents who are like, hey, I live 5 minutes away, I'll come and show it to you. And I always explain, if you see that house with that agent and you love it and we make an offer, you know, us together, we make an offer and they accept it, that realtor can come back to me and say, I'm not paying you because I showed them the house. So it's kind of the same way with.
I just tell them you could be obligated to pay 2 commissions.
Oh,
I
like
that. You were going.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
harsh, but
Because
they're signing with you,
Yep.
they owe you 2.7.
That's because that's way more of a scary thing
Absolutely.
than what I mean, I just explained it. I don't threaten them, which, I mean, that isn't, it isn't a threat, it's the
Right.
truth.
Well,
Yeah.
and if they use the builder line with you, that the builder's gonna give them this and that kind of
Yeah.
thing too, just say, we're under contract
Mhm.
and you could be obligated to pay us, which could in turn screw up your qualifying too.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
I mean, if it depends on how antagonistic it is, the situation and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But, if they're,
Yeah, and it's an ugly place to have to go, but when you're talking, especially in new construction, you're talking $15,000 possibly or more, that you could be, I'm a nice person and I don't like confrontation, but I'll confront somebody for $15,000, you know what I mean? So, yeah, that's,
well, and I just think partly, I always ask when agents people wanted to cancel, how often are you in contact with them? Because if you're doing your job and you're always I have clients that, they know you're working hard for it, but you've got to let them know you're working.
Yeah.
Because a lot of our stuff is behind the scenes. And so
Right.
you have to keep them, a buyer, informed just as much as you do a seller in a
Yeah.
listing contract.
and I think that's a really good point.
And I just don't think we have a good enough communication with
Right,
clients
I
a
think
lot of
that is a
times.
really good point, and especially for the newer agents, Alyssa and Eric, that, you're doing things behind the scenes that they don't know about, and I think it is important
Especially as
to
marketing
let
gets
them know. Yeah,
better.
yeah, exactly, that it's, you're making it look really easy, and that's great, but they also need to know that you are providing value for them and doing things that they aren't seeing, just.
Yeah, one of the things that we talk a lot about in PC is the fact that you can go into your settings in command.
Yes.
And you can send an update and you can pick which things you want to update them on. Obviously, you're not going to update them on, hey, like talk to Matt about blah, 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 right?
Right.
But it's a good habit to get into, to let them know, like, this was just completed.
Yeah.
And then you beat the thing to have them be like, hey, how are we doing?
Yeah.
Is this okay? Right, and if you do like one a week, right?
Oh, yeah, right,
Absolutely.
right.
You gotta make
Helpful.
contact with them once a week.
Yep.
Even if a listing only comes up for them every 3 weeks,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
still gotta be in contact with them every week. And just like with the sellers, I share with them the reverse prospecting search I do. On the buyers, I actually find out what they want. I go out in neighborhoods and start cold calling neighborhoods for them,
Nice.
because there's nothing out there, especially if they're.
How does that work for you, cold calling neighborhoods like that?
Because I have a scenario, I have a closing date these people are looking for, or like I have one right now, I'm trying to find an Echo Park Elementary. Okay, and so they are receptive when you have a real scenario.
Right.
Not that I have a buyer for your home.
Right.
I have a legitimate buyer, and
Yeah.
if they're not interested in selling, I just ask them, do you know of any of your neighbors that might be thinking of making a move this by summer?
Or that you want to
Before
make a
school
move.
starts
I'll
next.
call them.
See, I'm looking before
Yeah.
school starts next fall.
Right.
Because they want Echo Park Elementary.
Yeah.
So I have people a lot more receptive, and I also leave voicemail messages on their home phones.
Yeah.
And I actually get more callbacks from those than anything.
Really? I saw, and I don't wanna, because there's things I wanna go back and talk about with the canceling and stuff like that, but I saw and shared with Toddy, you guys know who Jared James is? I learned about him when I was at Remax. I don't know, he's not necessarily a Remax guy, I don't think, but anyway, he's like a Tom Ferry or, somebody like a big time, real estate coach or whatever. And I saw one of his videos on TikTok or on Reels or whatever back when Facebook allowed me to use it.
Too soon, hashtag too soon.
Yeah, right. On Monday, right? Oh my gosh, and I will say that Amanda Mendoza saw on her timeline one of the photos that the hackers posted on my timeline to get me,
What was it, porn?
booted, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I was kidding, but.
Yeah, it was, yeah. So
Kelly,
anyway.
you got a dark side.
Right, yeah, she's like, I about fell off my chair when I saw that. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. Anyway, again, was I going with that? Oh, Jared James, so he had a reel or whatever that what he has, his team or what he has, encourages his coaching clients to do is if your buyer goes out and sees a house that in a neighborhood that they like, that if they don't like the house or if they don't get the house, if they offer and don't get it, then what was it, Teddy? Like 50 to 100
I think
houses
it
or
was
something.
50 to 100, yeah.
Send a letter, saying, and he even gives an example of the letter in the, there's a link in the comments. So I mean, I've got a copy of the letter and what he says it should say. But basically, yeah, we lost in multiples, or we looked at a house in your neighborhood and it wasn't the right fit for them. Obviously they love the neighborhood, that you live in, and blah, blah, blah. And some letter, kind of like a version of our golden letter, but, to 50 to 100 houses around, and Toddy and I talked about it, even if you didn't show a house, you didn't lose out, I guess, pick a listing that you like, and say, yeah,
Well, and
it wasn't a good fit or whatever, are you
And a
interested?
takeoff on that, where I've had some other success is when I have a buyer who loses something in a neighborhood. If I have any past clients in that neighborhood, I go to them instantly and
That's a
say,
great
hey,
idea.
you know what? Because they're much more apt to
know what
share
the
with
neighbors
me,
are,
share
yeah.
people's names with me, and
then
actually
cold
look
call
for
them.
me.
Yeah.
Especially in associations too.
Yeah.
They'll, let's have to get up at the meeting, see if anybody's, so.
This is a little bit off topic, but just, I feel like maybe in this market, it would be best to have like a reminder of representation documents signed right away. Just because, and I haven't even told you this yet, but, and I won't say names in case she doesn't want to know, but an agent came in looking for you to ask you a question and you weren't there, and so she just started asking me, and I have no idea, but basically they had clients that were interested in a house, and the house is having an open house, and so the KW agent here called the listing agent and said, hey, we're gonna have some people coming through your open house, I just wanna give you a heads up. And so one of her clients went through and liked the house and talked to the listing agent. And the listing agent's like, well, do you have anything signed with the KW agent? And she said no. And so that listing agent took that. And they didn't have anything, they didn't have any documents signed or anything yet. But I just feel like maybe in this market, maybe agents will be a
It's
little
even
bit
that
more
much more
desperate,
important,
like need business.
Well, and the other thing with that is, like, if I have a buyer counseling session with somebody who's I don't work with that many buyers, so they're all referrals anyway, but if they haven't signed a contract yet, the first meeting I have with them, I give them a number of business cards. I say, if you have, because they tell me they're gonna go there and open, I says, if you do, don't give them your name, give them my card. And
Now, I think it's a little low for that agent to say, do you have anything signed?
Yeah.
Totally.
Especially if they made that phone call first and said, I
Right,
got absolutely through.
legally, and here's your broker hat,
Right.
they're not wrong.
Oh, absolutely, they
Mhm.
can totally
And
do
you
what
gotta
they
be careful
did.
even saying, I have some clients coming through,
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
no,
have
you
some
have to ask
customers.
Yeah.
permission if you can let your
Yeah.
clients come
And
through.
they're not your clients, you have nothing signed.
Yeah.
So,
But let's also talk legal. So the only way you're getting that commission, even if you have the buyer rep contract signed, is if you sue them. Like,
Oh.
you can't just say, okay, now you've closed
Yeah,
and
they've
you
got
owe me 2.7%, please just write me a check. It's gonna be a battle.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like aside from contracts, aside from the right thing to do,
You gotta have nursing.
yeah, because all these people that are going through these commission disputes right now, they're pretty much just gonna have to let them go because they don't want to put the negative energy and the lawsuit or the, ethics complaint.
I feel like
Association of Realtors.
When I first started and I was on a team, there was a time that we had some buyers who went into a FSBO. And I can't remember the exact situation because it's been so long now, but they went into a townhome in Northfield to a FSBO's house. And I can't remember if, we didn't know about it. And they totally, the reason that we tell people not to do this is they went in, they were talking to the sellers, oh my God, this is perfect for us, and, gave away any negotiating, whatever. And I think that our team dealt with them and said, basically, you need to pay us a certain amount, and I think they agreed to less than 2.7, but I know there was no suing. I think the buyers just.
the problem is though, you got some money, but you have I always tell everybody, I'm a walking billboard, positive or negative, and now your name is gonna be smeared to all their friends.
Yeah.
And that's why these agents have to just walk away.
Right.
And I even have like a guarantee in my listing presentation that you can cancel if you don't feel I'm living up to my expectation. And I tell them I'd rather work with people who wanna work with me and part as friends than you feel stuck into a contract where I get paid and you bash me to your buddies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so far I've never had to use it, but I
Yeah.
think addressing
Yeah.
that upfront.
Yeah.
I wanna
The
work
one
with
guy I
people.
worked for at Remax, he always put that in there that you can cancel at any time with nothing owed or whatever, so.
Well, that is the exact situation on two of these. They were also going to list their backup houses, and now the relationship is so sour, they're not.
Well, and we've all had situations where someone in your sphere reaches out to you and says, right, Eric? And says, hey, I'm not happy with my current agent, can you help me? And of course, the answer is, I am not able to talk to you about it, you're under contract. If you no longer have a contract with them, please call me and we can talk. But I don't say what I would do different, I don't say,
You can't tell
oh,
them
your
how to get out of it.
photos suck
Yeah.
so bad, I
Yeah.
can't say, but they'll ask me like, how do I cancel the contract? I'm like, well, it is a cancelable contract, but you have to do that with the agent directly.
You need to initiate
yeah.
that.
That's what we did with you.
What'd you do?
We canceled somebody else.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Came to work with you.
And look how that turned out.
Nice, that's
Well, and
awesome.
hopefully that's exactly what I said to you,
Yep.
right? Like, I can't help you until you're no longer under contract.
Yeah, and then I
guess-
called you like the second it
Yeah, and you're like, I fired him.
Yep, done, help me.
I guess the primary takeaway from what I feel like, has had some hard moments of conversation is it's happening a lot out there right now. So just be aware of
Yeah,
it. It hasn't
one of the
happened
things I was gonna say when you very first brought this up is that I think we saw that in,
Any tough market.
right, in 2021, when it was so difficult to get your offer accepted, and then you finally get an offer accepted, and then the buyers are like, well, we got it, but this isn't really, I don't think this house is right for us. So I think we were seeing a lot of cancellations from buyers at that point too, because, it's like, they're
It's like an
throwing,
eBay frenzy.
right,
Yeah.
and they're throwing, stuff at the wall to see what sticks.
Solution is go after the listings.
That's exactly right, that's exactly right. So, but yeah, that's interesting, Melissa, that you're seeing that.
more than before.
I think it's gonna get worse. We're kind of in desperate times right now.
Right,
Rates are over 7%.
Well, I
yeah,
was just thinking from
Yes,
agents, they're used to making a lot of money and now they're not.
yeah,
You just need to do a buyer consultation and get this stuff under contract. Like, you don't do anything until you have that.
right,
And the thing I tell my clients is, I just wanna make sure that you are represented the best way I can. This doesn't cost you a dime.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and I say straight up, I'm like, I'll say, like, if we're on the phone, I'll say, you know what, I need to meet you first, make sure that you're a good fit for me. You need to make sure I'm a good fit
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you in a situation where you're like, oh my God, not this lady,
Uh-huh.
right? And so, we have to make that decision. And when we meet, we will be signing the stuff.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I don't get paid. And I don't know about you, but I don't work for free.
yeah.
And they're like, oh, yeah, no, that totally makes sense, right? And it's just, people get in their head about doing a buyer representation.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're gonna lose
Yeah.
this transaction at some
Yeah.
point, and then you're gonna be like, why the F didn't I do that?
Yeah.
Right? And so sometimes that's what it takes, is losing it.
Yeah, learning the hard way,
I
absolutely.
like how you said too, like, kind of quickly and kind of casually, I don't know about you, but I don't work for free. Like, just out there.
And it's all about educating. They don't know how we get paid. They
Right.
think they pay for our gas and all that, we used to have to drive
Right.
around forever. and
You're
everything.
hourly right. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
paying for my
zero,
gas?
zero.
Our hourly rate is 52 cents.
Yeah,
Negative.
Negative, yeah.
Sometimes.
exactly. Yeah, where did I see that, I think it was at family reunion, one of the breakouts, I can't remember what class I was in, but they basically were saying, you have to, I think it was talking about referrals and, asking people to give you referrals, and because, the average Joe doesn't understand how it works, and they think that the brokerage pays us or gives us leads or whatever, and to a certain extent, sure they do, but that's not, that's not how we make a living. you know, so it is a matter of education. I think sometimes we forget that because we know, you know.
Yeah, so almost everybody thinks we're a salaried employee until you explain it to them.
Yeah, exactly.
And all the expenses that you have, whether or not you make a sale or
Right,
not.
right.
I think we also should make sure that we are, and again, just to shift energy, bragging about those builders that are on the up and up. Like,
Yeah.
I always tell D.R. Horton, they will not cut an agent on a commission.
Right,
Like, and I
I will-
appreciate that.
yeah, I will
But
sell
if
their
you're
houses all
Alyssa, how do
day.
you know that? Like, if you're Eric, I think we need to make a point
That's
to
true.
say, here are the builders that are so
Here's the builders you
agent
should
friendly.
recommend to your clients.
Yeah, and when you're
here's who
talking
you need to
about
be
new
careful about.
construction, I mean, like,
Right.
well,
Well, you can't like list them out, right? Because then here's who we recommend you work
Yeah.
with.
you'd be like, holy.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
the commission's like
and I've had-
1.5%. Really, how's
you know,
that agent
right,
friendly?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, I think Lennar is the one that every time I see one of their signs, I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever. But, and I think, you know, I don't know, is there kind of a fine line there that we, yeah, I would hate to refer somebody to Lennar because, yeah, I know they're gonna try to cut me out. But I mean, is that maybe not in our client's best interest though, to say, you know, don't use this one or don't use
Oh,
this
yeah,
one?
we would never say that, but like, if they wanna be in Rosemont,
Yeah.
it's fine to like check out D.R. Horton
Yeah.
neighborhoods in Rosemont
Mhm.
and, you know,
Yeah.
throw them their
But then at
way.
the same time, I also do honestly
They don't
feel-
work very well with agents.
Right, well, and I feel like too, if they're slimy that way, are they slimy other ways too? So I
Yeah.
definitely feel, and I have sold more D.R. Hortons than anything else. And so I'm like, my experience is that, you know, they take care of things and they build a, you know, decent product and, you know, so.
Well, even as you learn, there are some builders that aren't really good about that 1 year, you know, coming out and fixing potholes and stuff like that. Some are.
Did you guys see my post on Facebook about my client who closed with Pulte in November? And yeah, there's like a gap. I mean, there was ice on the windows.
I didn't see that.
Oh my God. And it still isn't taken care of. I was at a place the other day and there wasn't ice and stuff on there anymore, but, yeah, it's a mess. So, anyway, and I probably would never tell somebody that specifically, but, you know.
Well,
This
something to
is- yeah.
definitely watch out for. 'Cause
Right,
It could be
right,
faulty
exactly.
windows too. that
And it's a
makes it-
conversation of why I think you should always suggest to your buyers that
Why
they
you
have
want-
an inspection, even on new
Right,
construction.
Right.
I mean, I feel like that's not done very often because you're like,
Right.
everything's under warranty. That would be a good story to tell, not
Yeah.
specific about any builder, but, you know, it's important that somebody else is just looking
Yeah.
out for you to make sure. I mean, how many times do you hear of stories of, like, there was not enough insulation, there was a massive ice dam 1 or 2 years after because there wasn't adequate insulation?
Oh, yeah.
Somehow the city inspector signed off on it.
Yeah, and that heat camera that the inspectors do.
Yeah.
would show that.
Yeah,
I sold a
definitely-
townhouse once that was, I don't know, it was like 7 years old and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And that hatch had never even been open, but we
Oh, yeah.
did an inspection.
Yeah.
Went up there had never been any insulation. I says, oh my gosh, the first build, I says, they must have had some high heating bills. I mean, they
Oh
came
my
back,
God.
it was Rotla, they came back and
Uh-huh.
redid it. It was an oversight when they built
Oh my
the project,
God.
but those sellers
Oh my
for,
God.
7 years must have had some high
They're
heating
like,
bills.
$800 a month isn't normal?
Well,
They
and
can't
that's the thing,
If
you know, I
they-
mean,
so maybe.
No,
it can be a super reputable builder, and if they have a subcontractor in there, whatever, that
Yep.
wants to get
Yeah.
some
Busy
busy at
and
night, or,
something and.
or
yep.
just, yeah, human error, or whatever, you know, I can't imagine anyone went, okay, just, you know, seal that hatch, let's, you know,
Right,
know there's
right.
not, and you know,
No,
any
they just had never
insulation
been
up there,
opened,
yeah.
and so, and, you know, we got an inspection. And
Yeah.
it was and it was an inside unit, so it probably wasn't
Sure.
extremely, you know, it's
Yeah.
a 2-story style,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm sure they had
Right.
some heat loss in
Yeah.
that house.
Yeah, exactly. So.
Well, what did you pull up on there?
So if you were at the Mega Agent Mastermind that we had last week,
Last
after
week.
the meeting, after the team meeting, Jamie brought up Stephen Covey's 4 quadrants. Are you guys familiar with that? Maybe even just from last week. So basically, we were talking about time blocking and how we're protecting our time to make sure that we have time to be you know, doing lead gen and different things like that. And, you know, he was just talking about there are 4 different quadrants. You know, the top left is urgent, and then we got non-urgent, and then not important, and, you know, over here, well, over there is important, and then down there is not important. So, you know, the goal is to spend most of your time here in the important but not urgent. And where we don't want to be spending our time is the important and urgent, because then we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off, and then that's when we end up burning out and having issues and stuff like that. So to try to stay ahead of the game in the not urgent but important, you know, so like what it's saying in that quad is the activities, your prevention, capability improvement, relationship building, recognizing new opportunities, planning, and recreation. And that's gonna end up with vision and perspective, balance, discipline, control, and few crises. Where over here, if we're in the urgent and important, where, you know, kind of our hair is on fire, crisis, pressing problems, deadline driven, it's gonna result in stress, burnout, crisis management, and always putting out fires. And then if we're working in the quadrant where it's urgent but not important, there's interruptions, so you're working on some emails, some meetings, things like that. You're gonna end up resulting in short-term focus, crisis management, see goals and plans as worthless, that sort of thing. And then, you know, the not urgent and not important, trivia, busy work, you know, some email, maybe personal social media. Yeah, that's probably where I spend too much of my time, you know. But just in my mind, it's kind of a way to just categorize and make you think about, am I doing, you know, am I in that quadrant where I should be, where you're going to be the most productive? And then hopefully by staying in that not urgent and important quadrant, you're going to avoid being in the urgent and important where you're, you know, there's, you know, things, you know, stuff falling apart and things on fire. So how are you guys doing with time blocking and things like that? Eric, feel free to jump in too.
I think for me is like I have the time block and then it's sticking with it, right? And not letting those things that don't matter, wait, right? Like, I mean, it was funny because I had a Zoom with Irene yesterday and we hadn't talked in a long time, and I'm telling her something and I hear our text go off. She's like, you know, like this. And I was like, okay, flip that phone over. I'll wait until you're done. She's like, no, I'm seeing if there's something that somebody needs, like right away. I'm like, but I'm on a Zoom with you, right?
Yeah.
And then it reminded me of me, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
I do that too.
Yeah,
I
Steve John Kettle.
do that,
Yeah.
right? And it's, that's the thing, is just practicing like being where your feet are.
Right.
Right, like not having your phone on, not having, like sometimes I'll just take my watch off because that stupid text will come in or email, and then I'm like, and what do they say?
Yeah.
It takes you like on average 9 minutes to get back to
I think
like
it's
where.
good. I think Jason said
Where?
15.
Yeah.
In his example.
And
last week.
so, like, what? Like,
Right.
what am I doing then? Why am
Well,
I
and
sitting
then
here if I'm
Right.
constantly worried about something else?
And the thing that I think too about that is, say you were driving, or say you had forgotten your phone somewhere or whatever, and you didn't get that notification, and then you get it 10 minutes later and you're like, oh, who cares about that 10 minutes? Nothing, it doesn't matter, you know? And that is really hard to, you know, I mean, we're so trained to, you know, as soon as our phone dings,
Yes.
you know? And like, there's times, you know, I'll watch Jason at home, and even like on a weekend, you know, he'll get something from, you know, leadership, usually Jess.
I was gonna say, it's probably me. It's me. Just say
And
it.
like his phone will ding and he digs it out of his pocket. And I'm like, oh my God, settle down.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's no matter what it is, whether it's work or it's personal. I mean, he's like jigging in his pocket to get it right away. And,
You know what's
and he's
funny?
not always that
Do
way.
you know what his response is? I'll get to it on Monday.
I know.
Right, and I was like, oh, well, you're looking at your phone pretty fast to tell me that, but I mean,
Right,
you know,
right.
that's, but
And there are times he will shut his phone off and he'll, go downstairs and leave his phone upstairs, and I'm like, oh, I can't do that, but then there are times too where I'm like, oh my God, and I know that we all do it, but, yeah, that's, those distractions, and honestly, when you text somebody and they don't text you back right away, normally, you don't care. You know they're doing something else, or, they'll get back to you, trust that they're gonna get back to you when they can. But I feel like I'm that way too, and then if I know there's a text there, and I've gotten much better about this, but if I know there's a text there waiting for my response, my anxiety is like up here. But then there's times where like we've gone to a movie and I've got my phone off for 2 hours, and then you see it and you're like, oh yeah, they sent that 2 hours ago, but I'm just seeing it now. So in my mind, my response time is that 2 hours doesn't matter because I was in a movie, I didn't know, but yeah, when you know about it, then it can be.
It's easier just to leave it, when yesterday we had Bible study here, I just leave my phone in my office, I don't even look at it, don't even
Yep.
take it with me.
And like, I think like Olivia said, when she was going over this last week, there's no real emergency in real estate. I mean, the closest I can think is like my clients who were texting me and they're signing their documents right now and had a question about something that title would have to answer. And I was just like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't answer that. So I do feel a little bit, I really don't feel anxious about it right now, but that's probably the closest I could come, I would think, to there being an emergency. Otherwise,
right, like if there's a fire, they're not calling you, they're calling the fire
Right,
department or
right.
911.
Yeah.
Right? That is an emergency.
Yeah.
We should change our
Exactly.
voice.
Don't call
This
me.
is Scotty, I'm unavailable right now. If it's an emergency, please call fire.
Like the doctor's
Emergency, I'll
offices do.
call you back in a
If
couple
this is a medical emergency.
I'm a big one who uses voicemail, and so I always have on my voicemail, like right now, if somebody calls,
Yeah.
if they text me and they don't get an answer right away, if they're
Yeah.
those kind of people,
Yeah.
then they'll usually try calling next.
Sure.
And it says, I'm in a meeting, I'll be
Yeah.
returning phone calls at 11:30.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
Do
I
you
think the
change your
biggest thing is
voicemail greeting like every
Oh.
day?
5-6 times a day.
Really?
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. Whenever I'm going into an
Yeah.
appointment, I'll let them know when I'll be through it.
Yeah.
And
I recall the first time I ever heard of someone doing that, and this was years ago, I would call my sister at work and her voicemail was like, you reached Sheila, blah, blah, blah. Today is,
Right.
and then, I'll be in a meeting from here to here, but I can, be
Yep.
available.
I do it every day.
And that is, that is nice. I think it's a little
Couple times I
crazy.
forget. Couple times I forget to change it at night.
But
Right.
did you hear? She
but
said,
it
I
is
think
nice.
it is a little crazy.
Yeah, but you know what? It stops those people from
Absolutely.
continually
Yes.
calling every
Right.
hour. 'Cause
Yeah.
they freaking
As long
out.
as you don't mind changing your greeting, yeah, I would think that people love it, because they can always feel
They
like
know.
like they're being updated, and like you care about, talking to them and whatever their concern is, so.
For me, it'd be like, it's January 1st.
Oh my God,
It hasn't changed it yet.
People tell me,
Still in that
Christie, your
meeting.
message still says Tuesday on it. Because I forgot to change it that day or something.
Yep.
Kind of like the calendar in my office. You can tell how long it's been since I've been in my office. February 12th, what?
My grandson changed my one at home too. He says,
Yes.
it's my birthday, Grandma, you don't even have my birthday up there.
Well, that's important, absolutely. So, anyway, does that quadrant kind of make sense? I think, like, last week in our meeting, Jamie it just wasn't even it wasn't necessarily part of the discussion, and then Jamie brought it up, and it's like, oh, that totally, I think, fits in, because we're always, I don't know, I feel like, we're always kind of almost looking for a distraction, sometimes depending on what we're doing.
Especially if it's lead gen, like yesterday I was up in lead gen and a PC agent was there and I'm like, so are you making calls?
Yeah.
I really don't like you. I'm like, that's totally fine. And then it was, how many calls have you made? My people don't answer the phone, right? It was just something every time. And I said, well, how are you gonna do your job? Right? And then it was, well, how about this? I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go. How about I text them and then I And then I say, I'm gonna call you eventually, right? And I was like, whatever, just promise me that when you are setting an appointment, you are talking on the phone. Because, but the thing is like the younger generation.
Yeah.
They don't
make
use
phone
the
calls.
phone, right? Right? And so then that gives them anxiety, and I'm
Yeah.
like, whatever,
Kelsey's
just
like, yeah.
get your shit done, right? Like, instead, what are you doing? You're freaking out, you're going to Chat GPT, you're looking at what to say, and I'm like, no, you're, just say it.
Just do it.
Right? And so I think that is and it's like everybody has a fear over reaching out, right? And it's just, make it fun.
Do
So,
enough of it
they're
and
like,
you get over the
"Mom,
fear.
help."
Yeah.
Yeah. Kick them in the butt.
So about those Tuesday
Yeah.
lead gen that you do it upstairs, right?
It's upstairs if there's something in here. Typically it's in here,
Okay.
or we'll go to like the little mission room.
Okay.
But sometimes
mission.
when we get too many,
Yeah, then you're talking right next to each other
Yeah,
and
it's too much. So, it works best in here upstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we do, and anybody's welcome to join. We do 9 to noon. And then what we're gonna start doing is a class afterwards for PC, but again, like ours is gonna be the vision boards. Anybody's welcome to join. So, that'll be next week. But the thing is, Gonar's really good at calling expireds and FSBOs.
Yeah.
And people then listen to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's like, so are you still accepting offers on 123 Main Street? Right? And then people are like, oh. And then one of the Asian who didn't want to make calls says, I think I'm just gonna hire Gonar. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not what we're
Does he have a
doing.
lot of success with those?
Mhm.
So cool.
Yeah, he has a goal of 36 transactions in 12 months.
How are their expireds or cancels? Like,
I'm not finding enough around this area. I pay to get the thing, and I don't know that I wish I would have done that because the leads, because they haven't found any worthwhile.
Well, it's all in the mindset, right? So people will look and they're like, oh my gosh, like Fergus Falls, I'm not gonna call there. I'm like, why not?
You can get a referral.
You can refer it and
Right.
you need practice.
Yeah.
So call Fergus Falls.
Yeah.
Right, like people will come up with
Yeah.
excuses of
Yeah.
why I can't call this area or why I can't do this. The only reason you can't call is because it's active on the market,
Right,
right? And so go look.
right.
So then you can see, and if it's not active, call
Yeah,
it.
and I think, like, I've never called an expired or a FSBO. Ever in my life, and I don't plan to.
Oh, they're the best. They're the
But I
fastest.
think, and part of
listing.
what my limiting belief about them is that they are gonna be, like, I won't be able to answer their questions, or they're gonna be too savvy for me, or, which is ridiculous, because, no, just kidding. Totally don't mean that. But, I mean, seriously, sometimes you get somebody who is like, yes, I want to get this sold, yeah, can you help me?
All you gotta be is confident. No, that's all they're looking for is a
Yeah.
confident agent.
And I just, I've never, ever called one.
Oh, jeez.
Well, you know what?
They're
That
my
was-
favorite.
That was super bad to admit, because I'm gonna challenge you to
Right.
start calling them.
She
And
is doing the
you'll
hard
be sitting
whatever.
next to me in lead gen, listening to Gonar, and then you'll call it, and you'll be like,
Right.
oh my God, this isn't that bad.
Right.
I just got a listing.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Might be
You
true.
really just put that out there, Kelly.
She did that to you.
She's already, her stomach's turning.
Are your pits sweaty?
I had my yearly review and she said that it's okay to push her, so.
she just might push
See,
back.
now I got Tanya on my side,
Exactly.
and now Jason's here, it's gonna be the
Yeah.
trifecta.
Right.
You're gonna be calling expired, it's gonna be great.
Yes, indeed.
She's like, oh God.
Yeah. I mean, I've just never, well, and in the past, I've never had to. Right. You know, I think that's probably a big part of it too. So, yeah, maybe it is time.
And I have a limiting belief that they are already a little jaded because the last guy couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then when you see who it is, sometimes you're like, oh, that's a really good agent.
Yeah, right,
So
yeah.
you're like, I mean, if Cheryl Petrushev
Right.
does it, what
Right.
can I do that's
Yeah.
that much better than Cheryl, right?
I think it's just, sometimes just a matter of timing and, you know, I mean, you're not doing anything different. I will say, I just was thinking when Scotty was talking, one time I did call expired.
She did, she doesn't have to do
Yep,
that.
yep, and I think it was my first bold, and we had to come to class with like a list of expireds. And of course, they were in, I don't know what kind of order they were, MLS number or whatever. And of course, everybody in bold is calling and starting at the top of the list, like, you're like the third agent who's called, and I guess for, though that happens anyway, when you do cancel, and I've told people who canceled listing before for whatever reason, they expect a bunch of phone calls, yeah. So that's, I think, fear of rejection, like anything else.
Yeah, and a lot of agents have the best luck with the older ones, because agents have given up and they're not calling them anymore.
Oh, sure.
Even if it's a week.
Yeah.
They have, it's not active, they're like, oh, yeah. It's not calling anymore.
Krista, do you call them the day after they expire or cancel, or do you give it some time like Jess was saying?
I do both. I'm just not finding a lot of them, because I usually pull up with expireds, at 3:30 in the morning and look up their phone number and that kind of thing.
Because you're up for the day at that point?
Yeah, but yes,
Because I'm going to bed.
absolutely. But I always want to be the first to call.
Right.
And so,
At 4 in the morning.
for sell by owners, I call at 7:30 in the morning.
Really?
And I would
Because-
hang up on you so fast.
Yeah.
But you know what? They don't. You know what most of them do? Hey, I'm just walking out the door to work. Can I call you when I get to work? I've got your number here on my phone.
Mhm.
And that's because for sell by owners are advertising to the world out there, hey, I want to sell my house.
Yeah.
So they're gonna take your call and and even if you're an agent, because I'm calling and I'm asking if it's still available. So my problem with for sell by owners is usually they take a lot more follow-up time, and so I get bored with them, and they want to try it for 3 weeks or whatever, and then they'll work with an agent.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of follow-up with them.
Yeah.
But the initial call is easy to make, and they're all, I don't think I've ever had a for sale by owner be upset with me
Really?
calling.
Because I feel like I've heard people
Unless,
say.
I take it back, it was an past agent.
Okay.
He was the only one that was
Okay.
kind of nasty about it. Should have expected it.
But I feel like I've heard other people say that, oh my God, you realtors, leave me alone, or, or you call to, maybe you do have a legit buyer, and, you call and like, well, you're not gonna sell my house. Well, calm down, I'm not trying to sell your house. I mean, I wanna bring a buyer to it, but I suppose, sometimes
The
you
biggest
do, then
question
you
is
have
just
to-
ask him, are you still thinking of selling?
Mhm.
And they'll tell you, and then you kind of know how to proceed with a script with them, because there's a lot of them that get frustrated and they just take it off the market, and they, I'm not gonna sell now, I'm gonna stay or refinanced or
Well,
what.
you pay me 2.7, right?
What's that?
That's
I
my
don't
question.
even talk about commissions and that kind of thing. I just, I usually try to get in front of them before I talk commissions with them. I do sometimes ask, are you participating with real estate agents?
Sure.
And I said, if not, that's fine. I said, I've got buyers who will pay a commission. And so, and then their ears perk up.
Right.
What?
Right.
But I gotta find out if your house is a match for them, so. Gotta come through. I just wanna get in the door. I wanna see, because I wanna know if they're a listing worth pursuing.
Right.
Or take them off my
Right.
list.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
How many times do you know what your conversion is on?
I used it back in between 2000 and 2004, it was a third of my business. It was
Wow.
huge. It was a huge percentage of business, but we had a lot of expireds back then too. What I've discovered here, since probably 2018, there's just not a lot of expireds on the market. As the market gets tougher, and I think there's gonna be, I don't know if the upper bracket price range, I know I've got some new listings coming in 500 to 800,000. I'll see if that's gonna be, with the rates, if that's gonna affect that price range. I mean, right now, it's, they're under 350 where I got buyers. There's nothing, I'm not finding much out there for expired listings.
Yeah.
Or they're relisting right away. That's the biggest thing, is trying to catch them before they relist it right away.
Right. Well, and then I would think, and maybe I'm wrong, but with, when the market was crazy in like 2021 and the first part of 22, there were so few expireds
I didn't even call
that
them.
if they, if they
I
were,
just
there's a
wasn't-
reason.
Yeah.
Whether it's, unrealistic expectations from the.
Too high price or.
Right. What are you two
Yeah,
girls giggling about?
Yes.
No.
He's dressed his eyes.
Mhm.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think they're a huge, the thing with expireds is they're ready to go. And they're ready, and if you can get an appointment with them, if you convince them that you are, and like I said, it's all a confidence thing with them, getting in front of them, because they're ready to sign. And so they're the fastest appointment to a listing rather than, even with past clients, sometimes they want to kind of feel out the market. They want, well, what's the market doing? And, you know, they need time to think about, you know, how they want to strategize. The expireds are already packed, ready to go. They're missing their closing date they wanted before, you know, and so for them, I think it's just a matter of, I said, sometimes it's just, you're going in there, and the other thing is I go in with direction, and I just say, well, this is how, you know, this is how we take the listing, we do this, you know, I want 3-4 days ahead of time to be able to do it coming soon, and if you've got a plan.
Yeah.
Because what I always heard from most of the expireds is they either never heard from their agent, or they had no kind of plan laid out for them, and they don't communicate well. And so if you can go in and have a strategic
And do
plan
your
for-
job.
Yeah,
You know, I mean,
yes.
it
You know
is-
what, you know, and I can remember, and then you ask for the pre-qualifying questions over the phone if they do set an appointment with you. Because I'll never forget the lady in Bloomington who, when I asked her my pre-qualifying questions, and then I got there and I just, you know, can I take a quick look at your home? And, you know, and then it was, you know, are you ready to put your home back on the market? And she said, yes. And she said, I'm ready to list. And I said, okay, let's go. And she says, I knew before you even got here I was gonna list with you because of just the way, the questions you asked me on the phone.
When I, if you guys, maybe some of you, Jess, you will, and Krista, maybe you will, and Scotty, remember Herbie Nivola?
Nope.
So when I was on the team with him previously, when he first came back into real estate, we'd have things like, you know, we'd run into somebody who, either an agent, you're on the phone with another agent doing a deal or asking questions or whatever, or you hear of another agent from a client, and, you know, it's just pathetic. And you know, Herbie would go, and that's your competition. And it's like, yep. And then, you know, there's times where, you know, and I'm sure we've all had this, where we've got clients who, you know, we do our job and we follow up and we do what we say we're gonna do, and that's just normal to us. And they're like, oh my God, you did such a great job and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and you're kind of like, it just was, you know, and not like you're necessarily doing bare minimum, but you know, so with experiences they've had, sometimes when you are doing just your normal stuff, they're so impressed with you. And it's like, I wasn't doing anything special, but yeah, I'm glad you're happy, you know? So it's kind of funny that way. Yeah, there's definitely agents out there. And like we've talked about, you know, those agents who, you know, don't ever follow up or whatever, those are the ones that, you know, will be going away.
Back in the 80s, late 80s, I used to follow Jeff Sislow's expired listings because his clients were the easiest to please. And he had a lot of expireds. And I would just call his clients.
Was he, why? Because he just,
all he'd do was throw them on the MLS. If they didn't sell it,
Okay.
I mean, he didn't
really, that's
yeah,
fine.
and it was
Yeah, he's
funny.
still in business today.
I'm like, oh, it's another Jeff's listing.
Where do you think most of my business came from the first 2-3 years on my own? It's people, because I negotiated his short sales, and they were so unhappy they would never use him again.
Yeah.
I was the one that was in communication.
Yeah.
That's
constantly with
funny.
them. Yeah, I got a lot of.
I mean, I love
referrals
Jeff.
from
I've had transactions with Jeff
Uh-huh.
and that kind of thing, and I've worked with him for so many years. But I used to follow his expired
Yeah.
listings.
That's
Be
hilarious.
careful when your logo is the name you know, because if it's not a good name.
Right, exactly. Well, anything else? Jason says that we have to get this room set up for the next thing that's
meeting?
going on.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jason says
I'm gonna blame
that.
it on Jason. He's cutting us off.
have to go.
So what did you guys, I mean, is this helpful? I thought it was great.
Yes.
I mean,
100%.
yeah, so, and I think other weeks when we do this, I think